In every organization, there's someone who stays late on Friday. You know exactly who I'm talking about. They're the ones sitting at their desk at 5:30, maybe 6, going through their team's work. Not because anyone asked, not because there's some emergency. They're doing it because they saw something that wasn't right and they can't leave it alone. And they do this every week. If you ask them about it, they'd say something about standards. Or they'd say, and this is the one I hear most, it's just faster if I do it myself. Which, by the way, is always true in the moment and always wrong in the long run. Yes, it's faster if you do it yourself today. But what happens next Friday and the one after that? I coached a leader, we'll call her Janelle, who had this pattern perfected. Every Friday afternoon, she'd sit down with her team's work, find the gaps, and fix them. Hours every single Friday. So I asked her, what would happen if you just didn't? If you left at 5 on a Friday like a normal human being? And she looked at me like I'd suggested she leave a toddler in a parking lot. Things would fall through the cracks, she said. Well, they might, I said, and then what? She didn't have an answer, because she'd never let it get that far. She'd been catching every ball for so long that she had no idea whether her team could actually play the game without her. Here's the thing about the rescuer that nobody says out loud. The rescuing isn't about the team. It's about the rescuer. There's a quiet identity wrapped up in being indispensable. The person the whole thing falls apart without. And that identity feels like leadership. It feels like caring. But it's not leadership. I told Janelle something that hit her differently than I expected. I said, this isn't a delegation problem. This is a codependency. She went quiet. Because delegation sounds like a skill gap. You fix it with a checklist and a process. Codependency sounds like what it actually is. A relationship pattern that's meeting an emotional need on both sides, and nobody wants to be the one to break it. She gets to feel essential, her team gets to stop trying so hard, and every Friday, both sides get exactly what they've trained each other to expect. She fixes, they wait, nobody grows. Here's what I want you to think about if this sounds familiar. You're not a bad leader. You're almost certainly a good one who learned a long time ago that your value came from being the person who comes through. And that served you well. It got you promoted. It built your reputation. But that lesson hasn't updated. You're still running software from 2 roles ago. I use a baseball analogy with my clients all the time. You can't develop your team while you're on the mound throwing every pitch. At some point, you need to step off the field and into the dugout. Your job, at this altitude, is to prepare people, set them up, watch them play, and coach them between innings. Even when they give up a few runs, especially when they give up a few runs, because if they never throw, they never get better. And if they never get better, you never move. One thing to try this week. Pick one task you'd normally rescue, just one. Let it go. Don't fix it. Don't mention it. Just watch what happens. Your team might surprise you. They might not. Either way, you'll learn something you couldn't learn while you were busy catching every ball. Here's the question I'd ask you if we were sitting in a session together. If you got promoted tomorrow and your team had to run without you for 60 days, could they survive? If the answer is no, that's not a reflection of their limitations. That's a reflection of yours. And it might be the kindest thing you've ever been willing to look at. I'm Don Aish. This is the Leaders in Our Neighborhood series, and I'll see you in a week.